ESG, which stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, is a framework that's used to evaluate the sustainability and ethical impact of companies. It considers factors beyond just financial performance to assess a company's environmental practices, social impact, and corporate governance structure. ESG has gained significant importance in recent years as investors and society at large have become increasingly concerned about the impact of businesses on the planet and on people and overall societal well-being. Now, let's break it down. What does the E in ESG stand for? Environment or environmental factors such as climate change, resource depletion, pollution, carbon emissions, and so forth. It looks at a company's efforts to mitigate environmental risks, adopt sustainable practices, and transition to cleaner energy sources. How about the S in ESG? What does it represent? Well, the S represents social considerations, including labor practices, human rights, diversity and inclusion, community relations, and product safety. It examines how a company treats its employees, suppliers, customers, and the communities it operates in. By emphasizing the importance of creating inclusive work environments and treating employees fairly, ESG contributes to the promotion of social equity and progressive ideals. How about the G? Well, the G in ESG stands for governance, which assesses a company's internal policies, leadership, board structure, executive compensation, and transparency. It looks at how a company is managed and governed with a focus on accountability, integrity, and responsible decision-making. ESG considerations are increasingly being incorporated into investment decision-making processes. Many investors believe that companies that score well on ESG metrics are more likely to outperform financially over the long term and are better equipped to manage risks. As a result, there has been a growing demand for ESG-focused investment products such as ESG funds, which consider ESG factors in their investment strategies. Now, the rise of ESG has also influenced global finance and corporate policies. Governments and regulatory bodies are introducing ESG-related regulations and disclosure requirements to promote transparency and accountability. For example, companies may be required to disclose their carbon emissions, their diversity statistics, or their governance practices. These regulations encourage companies to improve their ESG performance and provide investors with more information to make informed decisions. Now, it is at this juncture that I would like to introduce two companies that you may or may not have heard about, those being Blackrock and Vanguard. These are two of the world's largest asset management companies, and they have played significant roles in the development and promotion of ESG principles. Blackrock, as the largest asset manager globally, has made substantial commitments to ESG. In his annual letter to CEOs back in 2020, the CEO of Blackrock, Larry Fink, emphasized that climate change posed a significant risk to long-term returns and called upon companies to demonstrate their commitment to sustainability.
And I wrote it in mind to, as the world's largest asset manager, to try to inform more people of where we believe asset allocation is going, where we believe the world of finance is moving towards, and we all need to be better prepared.
Blackrock has since integrated ESG considerations into its investment processes and launched several ESG-focused funds and products. They have also engaged with companies in their portfolio to encourage better ESG practices and disclosure. Vanguard, another major asset management firm, has also recognized the importance of ESG factors. Vanguard has increased its engagement with companies on ESG issues, including climate change and board diversity. They have been vocal about the need for companies to improve their ESG performance and have emphasized that they consider ESG factors in their investment decision-making process. Both Blackrock and Vanguard have used their significant influence as institutional investors to push for better ESG practices in the companies they invest in. They have been active in proxy voting, using their voting power to support shareholder resolutions related to ESG issues. Additionally, They have advocated for enhanced ESG disclosure and reporting standards, calling for greater transparency from companies on their ESG performance. Now, the role of Blackrock and Vanguard in ESG is significant due to their sheer size and influence in the investment industry. Both Blackrock and Vanguard are known to hold stakes in the Walt Disney Company. The Walt Disney Company, meanwhile, is widely considered to be one of the largest and most influential entertainment companies in the world, and thus it is not an insignificant fact that both Blackrock and Vanguard hold significant stakes in Walt Disney. A number of concerns have been raised about more and more companies adopting ESG principles, and some of those dangers include subjectivity and bias. ESG assessments often involve subjective judgments and interpretations, which can introduce bias and variability in evaluating a company's performance. Different stakeholders may have different perspectives on what constitutes good ESG practices, leading to inconsistencies and potential controversies. How about narrowing of the focus a bit too much? ESG frameworks do tend to prioritize environmental and social considerations, and sometimes this is done at the expense of economic factors. This narrow focus may overlook the financial sustainability and long-term viability of businesses, potentially leading to investment decisions that prioritize ESG goals over financial returns. How about trade-offs that have to be made when it comes to investment performance? Some have argued that prioritizing ESG factors in investment decision-making may limit investment opportunities and potentially lead to lower returns. After all, companies that are not ESG compliant or are doing well in that regard or operate in controversial sectors may be excluded from investment portfolios, which could limit diversification and potential financial gains. And how about lack of accountability? The integration of ESG factors does not guarantee improved corporate behavior or even positive societal impact. It is possible, after all, for companies to prioritize surface-level ESG initiatives without making substantial changes to their practices or addressing underlying issues. This lack of accountability can undermine the effectiveness of ESG frameworks. While diversity initiatives are believed to be important in investment circles for creating inclusive workplaces, there are potential negative consequences that can arise. Here are a few examples that I would argue are already manifesting. Perhaps the most noticeable of which is tokenism in the workplace. Diversity initiatives tend to lead to tokenism, where individuals from underrepresented groups are included merely to fulfill a quota or to create the appearance of diversity without genuine inclusion. Tokenism can undermine the value of diversity and make individuals feel even more marginalized or not valued for their skills and contributions. Of course, these diversity initiatives that are perceived as favoring certain groups over others are also likely to generate resentment or backlash among individuals who may now feel excluded or disadvantaged as a result of these initiatives. There is also the issue of unintended bias when it comes to the recruitment process. In an effort to increase diversity, biases can inadvertently emerge in the recruitment or promotion process. Unconscious biases or preferences may lead to hiring or promoting individuals based only on their demographic characteristics rather than on their qualifications or merit, which can undermine the credibility and effectiveness of diversity initiatives. Diversity initiatives often lead to an environment where individuals may feel hesitant to express different perspectives or engage in open discussions due to concerns about violating perceived social norms or facing consequences for dissenting opinions. After all, who would want to be called a racist for merely being critical of a black workmate? These types of concerns hinder open discussion and thus stifles creativity in organizations. It can also hinder intellectual diversity and the ability to have a robust, constructive debate within organizations. That's a general summary of what ESG is and how it's impacting the world. It is hard not to acknowledge the overtly politically progressive or left-wing ideas they seem intent on imposing on corporations. This month, for example, is LGBT Pride Month. Just look at all the companies changing their social media profiles to rainbow colors and engaging in elaborate messaging in support of LGBT issues. Seems like they're just trying to boost their ESG scores for more access to investment capital. Perhaps they're not as sincere in their proclamations as they are appearing to be. Well, that for me is the biggest concern I have with ESG. It is making companies get more woke.